Hello and welcome back to the channel. Going to be continuing here in part 8, I believe this is, of the potato washer conversion to global company and FS19. So quite a few different parts we still need to look at here. In the last video we actually got it in a game, which is a good start. And it does run, you can put the input products in and it does all start to do some stuff and get some products out of it. But there was a couple of errors with moving planes and some other things that still need to be added in, and going to tweak some parts to do with the speed of things as well, because I think the actual drum is moving too fast. I want to slow that down a little bit, so I'm going to have a look at those parts as well. So if we come into here, you can see we have our moving planes set up. Now I'm going to be adjusting these slightly, because I believe in one of the previous videos I was a bit unsure about why this has only got a maximum, why it doesn't have a minimum to maximum, and having a bit more of a look at it, I think that this should start at 0 and then move to a maximum of whatever. And if you don't kind of set that up correctly, depending on where it is initially, it might cause some problems. I could be wrong there. It might be a case of wherever it starts from in the Giants editor. So wherever you set the plane to is where it will start, and then it will go to a maximum of this. But I'm not quite sure on that, so might have to have a bit of a play around with that and just see how that kind of works out later on. But what we need to do first of all, though, before we get to that part, is actually have a look at setting up the actual node structure, because we've got our name here for the actual potato plane and water plane and fill level plane for the diesel. They're not actually joined to anything at the moment, so it doesn't know where they are, which is why we got the errors saying that indexes were not found for these particular items. So what we need to do is set up some i3D mapping to do with those. So I think what I'm going to do here, let's put them up the top here. So we'll create a few lines, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a copy of this. So we've got 3 in total, so we could just copy all 3 of these and then just rename them. So if I make a copy of those, and then we'll come down and put them into there. So then if we go to, we'll start from the top one here of potato plane. So I'm going to copy that one, and then we'll come back down to here and put that into there. And then we'll do the water plane. So we'll make a copy of that one. I think copying and pasting is the best way, because it means you're going to get all of the spelling correct, uppercase and lowercase letters if they're relevant. Sometimes things can be case sensitive, and if you don't put the uppercase and lowercase in the right place, it won't recognize that it's the same thing and it will cause an error. So we've got our water plane. We'll take our fill level plane for the fuel, the diesel, and then we'll put that into here. So to join all these up, we need to open the actual potato washer in the Giants editor to find out the appropriate index path, which is what our node is actually kind of set to, I guess. So if we go into here, for the inputs, we have our potato plane. Now this consists of a few, I think there's a couple of different ones in here, but they are all joined into one parent-child structure. So we have a main potato plane here, and then we have 2 others which are the child of this particular parent. So as we move all of them together, you can then move them as individuals, but they make up a whole. So they're all going to move together. So if we set this up correctly, then what we'll do is use this main parent structure here to move all of them as one unit. So we take the actual index path, just the last set of numbers after the greater than sign. So we're going to take that from there, make a copy of that, come back over into our XML, and then for the potato plane here, we're just going to paste that in. And then we're going to take the water plane, so we'll go into the next input of water plane, and then do the same again. Now this one I believe actually does start at 0 and then go up from there anyway, so this one potentially could work better than the others. Again, I'm not sure on that. Looking at the previous way things have been set up, it's always had a min and max y, so it moves on the y-axis. and then on the translate y-axis and everything else is normally set to 0, or a moving plane up and down sort of thing. But these seem to be a little bit different, so I'm not sure if they, as I said before, take the starting point wherever you set it in Giants Editor and then move to a maximum of whatever the XML is set to. So that's something we're going to have a bit of a play around with as we go through this, because if I move this up, we don't sort of start to see the actual the water plane until it gets to about there. So what I don't want it to do is be kind of too slow in coming up, because if we only add in, say, 1,000 litres of water, we're not going to get a very visual representation of that if the plane doesn't move quickly enough to get to get there. If it's too low to start with, it will still be under the ground when we put a smaller quantity of water in there, and the same for the potatoes and everything else. So I think what I'm going to do is actually experiment with this a little bit, just go as the crow flies sort of thing, and just have it where it's set in Giants Editor at this point, and then assume that whatever we set it to a maximum of in the XML, that's what it will be. So it will start here and then go to a maximum of whatever's in the XML. That's the idea anyway. Hopefully that works. So we'll go with that and leave that one there. That'll be fine. And then I'm going to take the index path from there and then put that to there. Because what I don't want to do is start freezing transformations here. I don't want to start freezing transformations and then that cause issues elsewhere, because when you freeze a transformation, sometimes you can freeze one and it will reset it all back to either 0 or 1, and that can then also apply that same function to other parts within the scene graph here, and you won't know until you get into game and something suddenly shifted halfway across the map because it's repositioned things and they don't work the way they were meant to work. So I don't want to do that unless I really, really have to. So I'm going to take it on the fact that it uses whatever setting is here in the Giants Editor as its base value and then moves to a maximum of whatever's in the XML. That's my theory anyway, so we're going to go with that. I don't know, I could be wrong. It might need to be set at 0, but we'll see how that works out. So let's go down to the next one then. So we have our fill level plane, which is for the fuel level. So we're going to take the index path from there and then put that into here, like so. And then hopefully all of those parts should move where we want them to be. So if I say this one here, so if I go ahead and save that and then move this up to say there, which is going to be 5457. So let's go to fill level plane. That's close enough actually. That's probably close enough. We'll leave that one as it is. That's fine. So we'll put that one back to where it was. And then our water plane, we wanted to start at that number. So if I make a copy of that so I can just reset it if it needs to be reset. And what we're going to do here is I'm going to go up to the dirt line there. So if we go up to somewhere like that, I would say is probably good enough. If I go any higher, what's going to happen? It's going to start coming out over the top of this gap here where the belt comes through, the conveyor belt comes through. So I think that's probably going to work best. And then we'll take that number there. So 0702. Let's see what we've got for that one. So water plane. Okay, so we're going to change that because that's a little bit low, I think. So 0.702. 702. Yeah, we'll go with that. And then we'll do the potato plane. So if I reset this one back to where it was before, that's fine. And then we'll take the a potato plane here. So again, assuming this is going to be its start point, that's fine. And we want it to come up to somewhere like that. 1.826. A little bit higher. I might rejiggle that one. So let's take our readings from here with left shift, left control, and C. And then we'll come into here, potato plane, and we'll just go Control V and overwrite those. That should be a little bit better there, I think. And normally I would like to actually reset all the scaling and everything and the rotations, but like I said before, trying to work with all these different things, when you're trying to use the freeze transformation system here, sometimes it can start to, as I said before, apply it to other things that you don't want it to be applied to, and then that can start to really bulk up the bulk up other parts of the unit that you wanted to leave alone. It's a bit weird how it works sometimes. So I think we're going to leave that one alone, just go on that and just see if that works okay. So that should be the fill planes all linked in together now, so we shouldn't have any further errors with those. They should now all be set up where they need to be set up with their correct indexes. So let's see what else we need to actually put into play, because there's still quite a lot needs to be done. The particle systems all need to be set up. That's going to take quite a lot of time to do that. So I think what we'll do in this video, we will do particle systems later on. We have in our work animations, under animation here, we have some effects to do with the actual display here. And I'm not particularly happy in the way that that's going to work in this setup. So I'm going to change a couple of things here. We have this display, and if I drag this out, you can see what it looks like there, like so. What I want to do is kind of actually change all of that, because where the transform group is set up on this particular monitor, it's not really set correctly to the actual screen there, or the plane, which was perfectly fine for the way it was originally set up, but because I want to actually do things a little bit differently, I'm going to rejiggle some stuff and have that controlled by a different method. Now what I'm actually going to do is set this up under the shaders for the mesh rotate shader, so I can actually have it as a invisible or visible object, the same as the potato planes here in the drum. That's the idea anyway. And then what I also want to do is have the lights here, so this orange light will be on when the unit is off, and then the green light will come on when the unit starts up, and the orange one will go out. Or I may even have it where the orange one is on all the time, and then the green one comes on to say the unit's actually running, but the orange one stays on all the time. I'm not sure yet. Going to have a bit of a play around with those. And we also need to look at the belts, because this particular belt, if you remember from the previous video, was rotating in the wrong direction. So we need to look at that as well. So let's just see. That's this one, is it? No, that's the one on the arm. So this one, and okay, so this one was also rotating in the wrong direction. And this is top belt. So if we go back to the XML here, so we're going to have a look here. This would be belt 3. So belt 3 here, and we have got scroll speed. So what we need to do is make it scroll in the opposite direction. So what we're going to do is actually put a negative in the front of that, so it will rotate in the opposite direction. And that will be the quickest way to do that. instead of actually rotating this, because of the setup we've got here. There's no way really to actually rotate this around, because it will be, I think, possibly, unless that is the same length as that, it would take quite a lot to actually get that position back in the same place again, and it's just so much easier to actually put the negative there and have this run in the opposite direction by adjusting the XML than trying to manipulate the actual mesh within the editor. So what we're going to do then is exactly the same process for this one here, which is going to be belt 4. So we're going to take this one and do the same with that one. So we'll put a negative on that one as well, and then with any luck, what should happen is they will rotate now or scroll in the opposite direction. Same as what we did in the first couple of videos or whatever it was, where we looked at the shaders and changing the parameters in the actual shaders by changing the speed by putting a negative in front of it. We could actually get the roller here, the drum, to spin in a different direction, and that's the same process for the belts here, the scroll UV belts, but we're just controlling that now through the parameters within the XML. So that should be okay there. What was the other thing? Okay, so what I'm going to do then is, I think we will delete all of this because I don't want the animations to be affecting anything. So I'm going to leave the animation main transform group there, otherwise it will screw up. If I delete the main transform group, it's going to screw up all the indexes for everything else I've set up. But I'm going to delete everything else inside of it. But first of all, what I want to do is actually open up the material editing window and see what this LCD screen texture is and where it's located. So that's the actual texture we have, and the location actually what I'll do is the location is going to be, should be in here somewhere, I would imagine. There it is, just there, LCD display decal. So that's the one we want. So what we're going to do then is I'm going to delete this transform group here, which will get rid of everything inside there, but leave the main transform group behind, as I say, so we don't mess up any of the actual index paths for everything else. And then I'm going to create a new transform group and put that into the shader transform group, and we'll just call this LCD display, like so. And I'm going to create a new primitive plane, and we'll take that and put that into there. So we're going to cut it and paste it into there like so. And I'm going to leave the actual, do I want to do that? Yeah, I'm going to leave the main transform group where it is, I think. I don't see the reason why we'd need to move that, really. I guess I could move the whole thing because all of these are positioned. Now I'm going to leave it where it is. I'm going to leave that there, and I'm just going to move the plane instead. So what we'll do is we'll move this over to here where we want it. Then I can apply the rotation and everything and the scaling to the actual plane itself, because I don't really like scaling transform groups. So I'm going to leave the actual main transform group there for the LCD display where it is, and then just use this and rotate and scale and everything else. Now have I changed that in the right direction? Yes, I have. Good. So we'll move this up, and what I'm going to do is scale this down. I'm just going to drag on the scalers, not that one, that one. We want that to be on the screen here. So we'll just continue to scale it and move it until we get it into the right position here. Something like that. Then move it up, scale it again. Let me turn my nav speed down a little bit. It's going a bit too fast, I think. It's a bit jerky when it's trying to go too fast. So let's scale it something like that. And then something like that, I would say. Yeah, that could probably work. And then what we're going to do is again open up the material editing window, and we'll then search for that texture. So we'll go into desktop, data washer placeable texture, and we want wherever it was. There it is. LCD display. We can do that, and there we go. We've now got our texture on our plane. What we want this to do is actually light up. We want it to be illuminated. So we're going to do the same again, but under emissive map. And because we don't want it to be too bright, we want to use it as an albedo map as well. So the albedo map will give it a little bit more darkness. And then the emissive map will give it a bit of light as well at the same time. So they'll kind of try to balance themselves out a little bit. If you just use the emissive map on its own, it'll be really, really bright. We don't want that too much. So I'm just going to apply it as an albedo map first. And then I'm going to apply it as an emissive map as well. And by doing that, as I say, it's just going to make it bright enough, but not overpowering. I think that will work out really, really well. So we're going to do that. And then, like I said before, I want to also have these lights here come on. So I want the green light and the orange light to come on. So I'm going to go ahead and save that, and then we'll minimize that down. Let's minimize that down as well for now. If we go into the textures file, we have this beacon light corona diffuse, which was what was originally set up, I believe, for this green light, but it was all done through animations. But I'm going to do it again, like I say, through shaders. But what I want to do is change this a little bit. So I'm just going to move it out onto the desktop here. And then what I'm going to do is, let's do magic wand. And I'm going to select all of that, and I'm going to delete it. So I just have the part in the middle here. And I just want to have a look and see. This should be DXT5, but it's worth always checking. DXT5 with mipmap, so that's fine. So we'll go ahead and save that. DXT5, yep, that's DXT5 with mipmap super sampling. And I'm going to click OK. And then this is beacon light corona. I might actually change that to, let's just change that. I'm going to change it to, we'll just go green corona and save. And then what I'm going to do is, with the magic wand selected, I'm going to select in here again, and I'm going to do edit, invert selection, so it selects just the middle bit here. And I'm going to change this to an orange color. So maybe, I don't know, something. See what that one looks like. That's too dark. Yellow. Not really an orange color, is there, on there? I can see is that orange, kind of. That could be orange. We'll go with that one. So we're going to go with that one, and then I'm going to edit fill selection. So we'll now have an orange light, and then I'm going to do file, save as, and then we'll change this one from green to orange. And we'll save that one, DXT5 with mipmap super sampling. Theoretically, this would want possibly some sort of alpha to it, maybe. You have to play around with these a little bit, because if we look at the original one, the green one, this one here, the actual light's got kind of a bit of a alpha to it, so might have to play around with that, because that's just a solid color. So maybe something like that might work better. try that. Let's do invert selection, fill. That might be a little bit too light now, that's the problem. That could work. That might work. We might go with that. Let's try that instead. Let's close that down then, and I'll get that one out of the way for now. So if I take both of those, cut them, paste them back into here, then what we're going to do is go back into the unit, do exactly the same thing again. So I'm going to, I think what I might do is put them all in this main transform group here in the LCD display, because it's all part of this unit here. So I'm going to create another plane. So we'll create another primitive plane, and we'll cut and paste that into there. And then I'm going to actually change this one, so change the name of that. So I'll copy the name from there, paste that into there, and then I'm going to take this one, I'll move this out. Now I'm hoping that this is not going to cause me some problems, which it might do. It might, because they share the same material name, it's possible that these might cause some problems. As I change the texture on one, it might change the texture on another one. So what I may have to do is actually create this in a separate i3D, which is always a bit of a pain. Yes, it is. So that's okay, we can do that. So what we'll do then is, let's delete that one, and I'm going to open up a new Giants editor. And then I'm going to create a new primitive plane in here. And I'm going to apply the texture. We'll do the green one first, green corona. I'm going to put that on there, and I'm going to do the same with the emissive like we did before. Like so. So now we have our green dot, our green light, and I'll change this one. We'll just call it green light. That'll do. Doesn't matter what you call it really, as long as it's something relevant to what it is. And we'll go ahead and save this. So we'll just save as, take a wash, and we'll put it into here. I'm just going to again call this green light, and we'll save that, close that down. So if we go into the folder here, we've got now a new i3D for green light. We'll need to do the same for the orange one, but I want to set this one up and get this one all working first. So I'm going to go File, Import, Green Light, Control X to cut it, and then paste it into that transform group, and then we can position it where we want to. And by doing it this way, we keep this one separate from the screen, so I can change the texture on either of them individually without causing any issues. So we'll change that to 90, and we'll bring this into where we want it to be. Oops. Now this is going to need to be scaled down quite considerably, I imagine. So we'll do, I don't know, 0.001 maybe. 0.001. Try that. That might be a bit too small. Yeah, that's a little bit too small. So we want to be maybe something like that. I don't know. A bit more. Yeah, that's still too small. So let's try that. That might be a little bit better. And get it somewhere central to the light unit itself. Something like that perhaps. These things can be adjusted later on, depending on how they look and whatever else once you get it into game. So what I might do here then is just scale this a little bit. I'm going to use these numbers because it's going to be such fine adjustments. So I'm going to go 0.5. So let's try 0.5. That could work. If we then bring it out just so it's on the tip of the unit there. So let's get this positioned a little bit better. Something like that. Let's try 8, 7, and 7. There we go, perfect. So now what we will hopefully have is this light here, or this LED, will come on when the unit is running, but be off when it's not. So that's the idea anyway. Same with this one here. So we'll go ahead and save, and then I'm going to do the same again. So I'm going to open up a new Giants editor, and we'll do the same. So we're going to create primitive plane, and we'll call this orange light, and we'll add in the texture. Go into here, textures, orange. Do the same for the emissive, orange light. See what that looks like. Oh, that's not too bad. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So we'll go with that, and we're just going to go File, Save As. Make sure we're in the right place here, and we're just going to put in there orange light. Done. And then we'll do that one. So we'll go File, Import, Orange Light, Control X, Control V. And then what we can do here is take the attributes from the green light and apply those into this one. Like so. And then we want this to be 90 on the X. And our scaling is 0.07 on the X and the Z, and then we can just move it down. So just move it down to the orange one and reposition it however it needs to be repositioned from there. Something like, let me come out a little bit more. When you get further away, not quite as visible. That could be the alpha doing that, possibly. But that's okay, we should be alright with that. I want it to be on the light, I don't want it to be too far away because otherwise it's just going to look silly. But I want it to be visible at the same time. I think we'll go with that. And then what I would probably do is have this one actually turn off when the unit is running. So, you know, there's lots of different things there that can be set up. So I don't want to keep these videos, I don't want to make these too long. Some of these videos, unfortunately, it may look like there's not a lot been done. But this is just the process that you kind of have to go through to get everything joined up and working and whatever else. So we'll move on to the next video, and then in that one we'll look at actually joining these parts up in the XML, and then we'll eventually get into particle systems. I'm ShyWizard, thanks very much for watching. I'll catch you on the next one.